Black magic. You've got to know, you've got to show, it's time to roll. So just tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you want, so just tell me what you want to hear.
Welcome back to another edition of RatG TV. I'm your host, Ryan, aka Zeus Fleming, and we have the absolute privilege of having former Spartacus star, we have the upcoming star of The Matrix 4, and just all around badass, Ellen Hollman. Ellen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've never actually done an interview with a guy named Zeus before, so this is a first for me.
Well, I figured given, your background, I better throw that in there as well, right? You can't mention Spartacus without mentioning, a little bit of deities.
I mean, I better not upset you. I don't want any thunderbolts flying all over the place.
That is something you won't have to worry about at all. Ellen, let's just talk a little bit about your origin story for those folks at home who may not know about you or about your background or about what you've got going on now.
Oh my gosh, background isn't like when I was a young girl.
From entertainment, yeah. What brought you from little girl to, kick-ass, badassery on the
how
stage?
How many hours do you have? To make a long story short, I was the kind of gal that instead of playing with Barbie dolls, I did love kicking boys in the shins on the playground if they ever picked on me. I've always been very high energy and into anything to do with athletics or roughhousing, if you will. And I just found a way to make a living at it. I was raised by I have two parents still alive, thank goodness. I had a single mom, 3 siblings, and she was such a tough, strong, badass of a woman. And I'd like to think I followed in her footsteps in that aspect. And I grew up with Xena Warrior Princess and Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie. And when I arrived on the set of Spartacus many years later and got to meet Lucy Lawless, Xena Warrior Princess, I was like, oh my God, this is my calling in life. And the fact that she was playing Lucretia, the Roman wife of Bariatus, and I was carrying the torch of the warrior, I just thought to myself, I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life. So since then, that has certainly opened up the doors in the action genre. And from there, I've been able to do some pretty amazing things that I feel so honored and humbled to be a part of them. And of course, Army of One is one of them, as well as now Matrix 4. Oh my God. So
is this overwhelming for you at one point? And let me kind of actually go back, if you don't mind. When you are on Spartacus and you see Lucy Lawless there, and you are playing Saxa, this immense warrior herself, did you feel like it was a passing of the torch at all there?
I mean, the irony was not lost on me. It certainly was not lost on me because they had some very strong female characters. But many of them were the slaves turned rebel fighters. And of course, Saxa grew over time into this total badass. And that's what I wanted her to be. I really wanted her to have gravitas and to not feel that she was in competition with the men, like she was one of them. It was neither male or female, it's just you are the same warrior. And that was really what I wanted to achieve on screen, just as Xena did. It wasn't like, oh, look at that woman being a badass. It's like, that's a warrior. And I think that I've always been a big fan of comic books growing up. I still have Rogue's first appearance. She was my favorite. She was my absolute favorite. I grew up playing video games, of course, all the fighting ones, like back to like Toy Shinden and Mortal Kombat days.
Wow.
I had the first PlayStation. One of the first PlayStations in the United States because a good girlfriend of mine, Nico, growing up, her brother worked for PlayStation. So, and he worked in Japan. Her family is Japanese. So we got one of the first PlayStations and I got to play that for a year before it came to the United States. So of course we would have like big video game competitions with all my guy friends. and I would just mop the floor with them, and I'd be like, "Oh, how do you hold the controller? How do you play this game? I don't know."
So
And just
you hustled everybody.
oh, I hustled them so hard.
You
Yeah.
were like the Paul Newman of video games, is what you're telling me. I
Yes.
love it. Now, this is great. Hearing about, you know, because there's a lot of empowerment I'm hearing in your story already. You know, the way you've grown up, the heroines that you've looked up to, and I love that, especially when you're talking about Saxa, that you're referring to equalness. And
Right.
about everyone being treated the same, you know, not being treated as, you know, a woman or a man, but as a warrior. Now, that seems to be something that's also inbred in your character in Army of One. Is this something you go looking for in characters?
You know, it's really interesting. I feel like it finds me. Even in Into the Badlands, I was fortunate enough to play Zephyr, who is the general of the army. And you didn't look at her being like, "Oh, look, there's a woman in charge of the army." It was like, there is a badass albino with a sword that is someone we want to listen to. And it's the same thing, you know, if someone's talking about a doctor, why they feel the need to say chick doctor. It's like, a chick doctor is called a doctor. Like
Right.
a lady boss is called a boss. Like you don't need to add lady in front of it or chick in front of it. I feel like times are growing and people are becoming a little bit more respectful in that aspect. But I also feel that just because you're pro-female doesn't mean you're anti-male.
Right.
I happen to be married to a male who I love very much, who I love very much, and we live together and we work together so often, and I've never felt that I've had to prove myself because I'm smaller and because I'm not as strong. And then to answer your question, in Army of One, Brenner Baker is former military, and in every single action sequence, she is not relying on, "Oh, I'm going to punch this guy in the face to take him down," because in real life, you would break your hand. If I were to punch my husband in the face, it would shatter. It would shatter like Deadpool. It would
Right,
shatter
right.
my hand. So you have to be smarter. You have to be faster. You have to be more agile. And I think, at least in my opinion, when my husband and I designed all the action, we wanted it to be believable. We wanted it to be believable, which is why there was a lot of jujitsu, which is what they teach the U.S. military. There's a lot of jujitsu in there, judo, as well as aikido.
Well, you have that nice Jujigatami in there with a little shiv in your hand.
Yeah, but with the armbar, there's a little
Yeah,
bit of
that's one of my
flying
favorite
armbar in there.
scenes.
One thing that kind of bothers me is when you see in TV or film where they just take a fight sequence for granted. It's like a few kicks and a few punches and it's just not memorable. I'm like, every sequence tells a story. And I think that's where being an actor for so many years, I've been able to bring that to the screen, that element to it. So like, what story are we telling here? And then where's the uniqueness? So you know, for example, when I wake up at 2:00 in the morning and I tell my husband, "Has anyone ever been stabbed in the jugular with a deer antler?" He's like, "Darling, just write it down. We'll talk about it in the morning." Just in the morning, like, let me think about it in the morning. And sure enough, those both made the movie in a very epic way.
Yeah.
And I've never seen either one of them done cinematically the way that we did it.
Now there are some epic fight scenes in here, which goes to we would expect that, given the trailer, of course. But how much training goes into this? Because you have prior training as well. Did you have to do additional training for this? Did you already have that in place?
Well, that's a very good question. And yes, a hell of a lot of training, not just specific to this, but I've been fortunate enough to train with my husband's stunt team, 8711 Action Design, and they do the John Wick franchise, Deadpool, Atomic
Oh, wow.
Blonde. Yeah, they in fact, one of my mentors, Chad Stahelski, directs all of the John Wicks. So I've been able to learn from the boys over the years. In fact, they were my Matrix boys. They were the same team that just finished the fourth installment of Matrix. So it's a language. It's a very specific language that they speak that it's taken me nearly 7 years to really decipher it, but I am able to at least keep up in some sense.
Now we talk about this, and we're talking about the action side of this and what goes into the workouts and the prep. But what about the movie itself, Army of One? This is your action revenge type movie. But what sets Army of One apart from, say, like your Takens or your other revenge type movies?
We are accustomed to these movies such as John Wick, led by a man. And even in the opening of this in the first act, you think this is Matt Passmore's movie. You don't think it's Brenner's movie. You don't think it's my movie. And then all of a sudden, bullet to the head, you're like, oh, you just killed the lead. Like,
Spoilers!
What are you doing? Oh my God, guys, is the movie over? This is weird. I don't know what's happening here. And that's also where I just wanted to like shake the audience to be like, we've seen enough of these movies. We've seen enough of these. You know what? Like, you've seen enough of that. You've seen that. Like, go see John Wick. You've seen that before. But to have a woman in this space who's doing the revenge story and doing really, Ryan, like unspeakable things.
She really, really is. Now, this scares me as a male, for one. I have 2 daughters and an ex-wife, so I'm petrified after watching this movie. But we are seeing this more often, though. We've seen Columbina back in the day with Zoe Saldana. Atomic Blonde you spoke of as well with Charlize Theron. This is, and I think you put it best earlier when you said we don't have to say female-led movie, male-led movie, like male-led action movie. This is just an action movie. Do you feel like we're there yet?
Strides are absolutely being taken. And I feel like anything, there will be an overcorrection. And with that overcorrection is when you put someone in a position that doesn't necessarily have the experience because they haven't had the opportunity, they're going to inevitably flounder at times. And you see this a lot with female directors where you give them these big franchises when they've only done smaller films, and all this, all the competitors are looking at them like, oh, see, look, they didn't do this perfectly. Oh, she didn't do that really great. I'm like, because we've never been given a seat at the table before. So with something like this, I didn't want to rely on my sexuality. I didn't want to have the push-up bra and the latex and like the little quips, like the one-liners, and like, look, the hair when I was doing. I wanted to treat it like I was a guy doing a revenge story. You see Brenner be heartbroken at the loss, and then you just see that shift where it's like, okay, some shit's about to go down, and you stop looking at her. At least I mean, it's hard to be objective because I'm looking at me, I suppose, but I feel like there is a point in the movie where you stop thinking this is a woman doing this, and you're like, this is a human that is heartbroken at loss, and she is going on a massive murder spree to balance out the karma.
No, so Army of One comes out streaming on all the platforms December 15th. You must be excited for this because this seems like a passion project for you.
Oh, it absolutely was. When I was brought on board, actually a bit late in the game, they already established where they were going to shoot. They already established much of the cast. And Stephen Durham, our director, had no ego about allowing me to put my talons in it from a literary standpoint, from a producer standpoint, from an action design standpoint, and also as a performer. I mean, even to the point where he allowed my husband and I to take over second unit. I'm just like, and even just my husband and I would shoot previs and put together the action design, and we knew how we were going to shoot things, and it was certainly a massive collaborative effort.
And I have to assume having so many hats or wearing so many hats, especially coming into the game late in the game, as you said. I'm sure it wasn't the most stress-free time for you.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'm so used to being under pressure. I mean, when you're on set and you have Lana Wachowski giving you notes, and you know that it's $1 million a day that the studio is putting in. I mean, thousands of dollars just a minute. And if something is off, like, you better fix that. Just that amount of pressure, that isn't a gun to your head. That is a bazooka to your head. But that only comes with time and experience. So I didn't actually feel that pressure. It's like, I'm here to do this job, and this is, I know how to do this. And I feel that with any profession, you do it long enough, you know how all the gears start to work. And that's what's always fascinated me. Like, I know if the lighting's off, I know, like, if we have to come in closer for something, I know, like, okay, I need to adjust the sound here so that it's not affected by, certain choreo. I know when boom's in shot. I know if, like, the hair isn't correct and the makeup isn't done, and all of that.
Well, I tell you what, let's take a quick look at the trailer. Army of One, December 15th on all video on demand and streaming platforms. Let's take a look.
What brings you two to this little community?
We're just traveling, getting away from work.
Hello?
Looks like it's just us. Dylan?
We need to get the hell out of here. Who sent you?
Let's go, maggots!
Thought you were dead. Back it up, boys.
She's here. The army girl.
Today's your sentencing day.
You kill my husband, you all die.
Dang, Army of One, December 15th, a kick-ass movie. Oh my God, Ellen Hollman, we talked about how proud you must be of this. If we can, I do want to talk a little bit about, I'd be remiss if we didn't kind of get more into The Matrix 4, though. I mean, come on. I feel like we've buried that long enough and teased it. What can you tell us, if anything, about The Matrix 4, your character you might be playing in the movie, and just your overall experience on set?
It was, the largest scale production I've ever worked on. And Lana loves doing everything practically. She wants everything to be as authentic and real as possible. And she's so family oriented. And it's not just about who's the best fit for the role. It's if she really connects with them. In fact, she'd received my material through 8711, through the stunt coordinator, etc. And based on that, I had a meeting with her in the production office, and I thought, okay, am I going to have to audition? Like, what's going to happen here? And she just wanted to see what kind of person I was. She stood and spoke with me for over an hour, just asking me about life and values and family. And we just connected on this incredible level. And then at the end, she hugged me and said, "Welcome to the family." And I'll never forget it. I was in there with all the boys, and actually Jess Henwick, who was one of my co-stars on Love and Monsters, who has an incredible role in this film. But I'm hugging Lana and I'm looking over her shoulder. I'm like, oh my God, is this happening? She's like, oh my God, this is happening. Oh my God. I'm like, keep her cool, keep her cool, keep her cool. So that was absolutely a surreal experience. I'm like, do you want me to cut off my hand for the job? Because I'll do that. And then cut to San Francisco, where I can't disclose what exactly we did. However, online you can see footage such as, this wasn't my bit, but you can see 2 actors jumping off a 50-story building with no safety net.
Mm-hmm.
You could have easily done that in CGI. You could have easily done that in studio, but she wanted her 2 actors to jump off a 50-story building, no safety net, specifically at sunrise to get this shot. It has never been done before.
Insane.
It was
wow.
real. My husband was one of the engineers. He was one of the head of departments for the rigging department. And I'm like, you know that you have a lot on your plate, buddy. Like, oh my God. And then there's another sequence where there's helicopters literally going in between buildings in San Francisco, like at traffic light level, and then they blew the street up. They blew the street up in San Francisco. I was just like, I've never seen this done before. There are a myriad of things that could go awry.
Right.
And if she has it in her brain to do it, it's going to happen.
So do you feel now that with Matrix 4, with Army of One, with everything you're doing, because writing, producing, directing, you're doing a lot, you're training and everything. Do you feel like you're there? Do you feel like you're just on the cusp right now?
Oh, honey, I am just getting started.
You're just getting started. I love it. So where is the end game then? Like, is there a goal in sight for you, I guess?
I've never believed in, this is going to sound really weird, but don't set goals. What do I mean by that? When you set a potent goal, once you achieve that, you kind of take your foot off the gas. I like to think of it as possibilities. Because if you automatically create a finish line for yourself, once you get to the finish line, you'll be like, oh, if I make it to the finish line, then I will be happy. It's an if-then situation. If I become a producer and writer and director in a big series, then I will be happy. So then you're telling yourself that this is my only way to achieve completion of my soul or happiness. I like to think of it as possibilities and accomplishments along the way, because we don't know what we're capable of. Like, who knows what Ryan is capable of? Like, who knows what I'm capable of?
Not jumping off a 50-story building. Not even for $50 million. I don't think I could do that.
Ryan, you never know. Maybe someday you will. I didn't envision myself.
Ellen, I just turned 45 a couple months ago. I have the shape of Uncle Phil, not just the beard. So I'm going to avoid that.
Just getting started, my friend. You're just getting started.
I love it. I love it. And I do gotta say, I really do admire your positivity. Not only your positivity, there's one thing that I want to say that stood out for me the most during our conversation here, and that's the love and respect you have for your husband. You bring him up so much, and you sound so proud about everything he's accomplished and everything. It's unusual to see in Hollywood where people are talking about themselves or promoting their own movies, and to be always constantly praising someone at home or someone that's close to them. So I do want to say that's something I kind of find beautiful, and I really do admire that about you.
That's so sweet of you. I mean, if I just feel like, what are you doing it for if you don't have love, at least somewhere?
Right.
And I truly don't believe you can be on your own island. It really does take an army. Unless you're Army of One, then in that case it just takes you.
Exactly. Who wins, Brenner or John Wick?
Yes, exactly.
They team up and take everyone down.
They take everyone down. Yeah, I mean, yeah. He does grace the screen in this too. I make him go on camera for everything that I do if he's available.
Is Keanu Reeves really the nicest man on the face of the planet?
It's actually ridiculous how wonderful he is.
And I get this feeling that if I ever met Keanu, I'd be like looking at him, just please make some kind of mistake, like show me some kind of crack in the armor.
He's so incredibly genuine and wonderful, and I've been fortunate enough to know him for years now, just because of the John Wick franchise, and the fact that my husband is been ingrained in that franchise along with him, and even on a coordinator aspect, being rigging coordinator for Matrix, like he was in charge of making sure Keanu was safe, was okay, and there's that trust that builds. And even when we'd be training at 87, you would see Keanu on the mats and you don't even know it's him. Like he doesn't have this like vacuous energy like Hugh Jackman. When my husband used to double Hugh Jackman for years and years, when he walks into a set, everyone knows he's there because he's just this ray of sunshine, just always charismatic and loud and wonderful. Where Keanu, like, we're going to the table read and I'm walking down the hall and there's this guy in a suit jacket just walking next to me, and I'm like, oh God, yeah, like where did you come from? Like he's just stealth. Like he's just absolutely stealth. He's not a look at me kind of guy. He's incredibly humble. And even when we were all working our butts off in Berlin, he rented an entire theater, being pandemic savvy, an entire theater, and he screened Bill and Ted for everybody. And he gets in front of, like, on the podium, he's like, hey guys, so this is a movie I was in, and I hope you just really enjoy, like, have a good time, and yeah, there's some popcorn if you want it, and yeah, that's it. I'm like, oh God, you're so lovable. Oh,
He's so Canadian. He's so Canadian.
Yeah, he's so wonderful. He really is. And he works his ass off and never complains, ever.
And last question, I'll get you out of here. I ask this of everybody. It's the last kind of question of the day. Let's say I can put my genie hat on. I can snap my fingers, grant you one wish, and it's a conditional wish, of course. Now, given your action background, you are, I think, one of the most suited actors on the planet to be in the superhero genre that seems to be dominating the box offices over the last, 10 years or so. Is there someone on your radar that maybe hasn't been played yet that you'd like to play, or even someone that has been played before?
Hands down, Rogue.
And you know what? I love that you say this, because you've played Rogue twice now. We've shared that video on Ryan's All Things Geek Facebook page. Both movies, because there's two of them you've done. We just recut a trailer because I was one of the producers on that and action design for that. And Scissor Films is an effects company I work with very closely. They did the effects for Army 1, and I fell in love with those boys over there. And they're like, hey, we're working with Nick Bateman. He's an incredible Gambit. And they're like, oh, we need a Rogue, and also we need riggers, and we need stunt guys, and we need that. I'm like, you need, or you're asking me? Yeah, right.
First of all, you don't have to tell me twice to be so, because that was my favorite superheroine ever, and I feel like she has yet to really have a full debut. Anna Paquin did a great job.
But you want to see the Ms. Marvel version of Rogue, where she's got the Ms. Marvel. Are you the '90s kid, like I am? Grew up on the X-Men of the '90s animated series.
Yeah, the thing is, like Rogue has sass, honey. Yeah, she's just all sass, and she's body, and she's woman, and that has not yet been portrayed. So I feel like that hasn't been brought to screen yet. The younger, I don't want to say mousier version, but the depiction that has been in the MCU universe isn't necessarily one that I envision for that character.
Right.
That's something that deserves to see the light of day. Whoever ends up playing her someday, hopefully, she will be portrayed in the way that she deserves. And my God, that would be a dream come true.
I think that's a fantastic answer. I think you probably, out of any actress out there, knows Rogue better than anyone. So Ellen Hollman, I just want to say thank you so much for spending like the better part of your hour with us here, talking about your career, talking about Army of One, talking Matrix 4, talking old school Spartacus, and just talking about you. This has been excellent, and I just want to say thank you. Is there anything you'd like to part us with today?
Never set limitations for yourself. Ever. That's the number one thing. Never set limitations for yourself. Just do it. Just do it.
Well, for Ellen Hollman, I'm Ryan Zeus Fleming. This has been another edition of RatG TV, live here from the Rat Hole. And thank you very much. Everyone, stay safe.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Ryan.
Black magic. You got to know, got to show. It's time to roll. So just tell me what you wanna hear. Tell me what you want. So just tell me what you wanna hear.